eating snacks.
What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Sin.
Yes, sir.
I'm here with Frosty.
Yes.
And it's time for a new episode of Spoiler Boys.
Spoiler boys.
And girl.
And a girl.
All right, look. We are here to spoil episode 5 of the Acolyte, titled Night, which is the only thing that would have made sense after last week's episode being titled Day. Before we get into this episode, Frosty, I want to give you a moment or two to just kind of give your overall impressions of the last episode, since you didn't get a chance to do that with us last week. Just kind of give us your, where you were on it, how you felt about it, how much of a 10 it was to you.
I was like, there's no question like what rating I gave it. It was a 10, a solid 10. I was really bummed to miss talking to you guys about it because I like dropped a revelation on Black Squadron. Darth Maul's entrance is no longer my favorite in the Star Wars universe.
Hey,
I saw that. Big. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Oh, did I mention that the previous week though?
No.
Yeah.
But not to us. I just happened to watch. I watched the episode.
Oh, okay.
I saw you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal, huh?
That, I mean, he comes in and that, yeah.
That says it all.
Yeah.
That's about as good as it gets. It is probably the best entrance in all of Star Wars.
It was so creepy. Like
it's quiet.
Floats down out of nowhere. Like absolutely blew my mind. Like I was sitting up like ready for it. I sit up a lot, like because then I get like real comfy and then I'm like, oh
yeah.
But yeah, that one had me like.
So I watched it. Like when I rewatched that episode, I watched it with someone who will remain nameless, who said and had no business saying, "Oh hell no!" And I was just kind of like, "That's pretty much right. That's pretty much right." Okay.
That quick head flick too just got me. I was like, this guy.
Yeah. I mean, look, that episode is again, to dethrone the Star Wars character for you in terms of at least just their introduction.
Yeah.
I can imagine that if they had it to do all over again, they would introduce Darth Maul very differently. But
yeah,
this is like came out of the trees like a spider on a web. Like just
you are nothing but prey to this man. Like
that's it.
Disgusting, bro. Yeah,
cat toy with his food.
A lot of power over there. A lot of power. So let's talk about it because. Essentially, right after that entrance, I mean, that's basically how that last episode ends. And when Sen and I talked about this episode last week, we discussed whether or not, all right, it would be pretty terrible if they didn't pick this next episode up right where that left off. Like, I'm going to be real angry if they don't do that. But they very easily could have been like, haha, flashback. You know what I mean? Like,
I was terrified that was going to happen.
Ready to die.
Exactly. Like, so could have been bad. But they I do think it was smart to capitalize on that moment and continue that because they know like that's what you're waiting for, right? And this is what we've been leading up to. And I'm gonna tell you honestly, I was not positive when this episode started that we were going to actually get a reveal of who it was.
I wasn't either.
And the only reason for that is because in my head I'm like, well, there's 3 more episodes.
Yeah.
So like it might be a little early, you know what I mean, to play that card. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, they still got at least 1 full flashback episode in it, and then like 2 to wrap everything up. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, we might be into something. And when this episode opens with like Osha laying in the dirt because her got force flicked. Listen, let's talk about that for a second.
How her neck should be broken because he was like,
bro, it was the most violent force maneuver I think I have ever seen. It was super slight, but it was hella violent.
Yeah.
It like, I don't think I've ever, unless you were playing like the Force Unleashed video game or something where you're just like grabbing, you know, force powers always seem much more floaty, lift and kind of float things. Even in this show up to this point, that's more of what it's been. Like when you see Mother Anastasia talking to the girls and showing them, she like picks up like a fruit, maybe it's a ball, I think it's a fruit or whatever, she picks it up and it just kind of floats over to her and lands in her hand, and she kind of like, it's very, the Force has always been very floaty. Even if they're trying to pull something or hold something in position, very rarely do we see it like truly used to just chuck something.
yeah.
Especially a person.
She got chucked.
She got discarded. Yeah. Like I think is the best way to say it. She was discarded. Yeah. And I could have been like, I could kill you now. I'm not going to. You're just in the way. Get out of the way.
I mean, that's the whole thing where he like pulls the lightsaber out and ignites it. He could have easily just skewered her right there. Right. And instead he's like, nah.
Yeah. Not yet.
Let me deal.
Let me finish dealing with all this first. Yeah. Let me get the riffraff out of the way.
So we got to talk about that because they pan out. She sits up and looks, and you can see like the dirt where it's been like pushed back, where they all got like force pushed away, but it's like super quiet. I'm like, where? To be honest, I'm gonna keep it a buck. The way she got flicked and where she woke up feel like they were wrong. I'm like, I feel like she should have been like much further away.
Yeah,
she probably bounced off a tree.
She got stopped by that tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, or she should be much more hurt.
So, yeah.
She
slammed into that tree. There should be like some scarring, a broken bone, like
rib cage, something.
Yeah.
Pip hit the tree, saved it. You know what I mean? It was a hip.
Hip. Brunt of it, yeah.
But then she turns to see what we're just gonna call the best Star Wars fight action ever recorded in the history of Star Wars fights, period. So I want to take a moment. Sin, do you remember maybe a year or so ago, we had a conversation about, there was this guy who was doing like live action anime. He was doing like My Hero live action anime. He directed this.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Keep him on rotation, bro.
He did. Now listen, since he did all that stuff with like the My Hero stuff and all that, he's done stuff for like John Wick. He's done stuff like, he's been doing this. Yeah.
Okay.
He did this though. This is the most anime Star Wars fight.
Hey dog. He was on their ass the entire time. And his just whole style, dog. They couldn't hang with him for a second.
No, not at all.
Not a chance.
I want to say that like it took me a minute. I had to go back and watch it again because Yord said he don't play by the rules. Like he was like he doesn't fight with the rules, which like when you hear him say it in the moment, it feels slightly throwaway. When you go back and you rewatch it, you can actually see that they appear so thrown off because it's like he's not fighting by the established rules of battle.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to think of what movie it is. There's a movie where like the I want to say it's Last Samurai, where it's like the rules of war, like you go, you line up, you kneel, you aim, you shoot, then they aim and shoot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, nope, we're attacking from the trees, we're flanking, we're doing whatever. And it's like in their head, this is not a fair fight. But it's like, no, this is a fight, bro. So this is like there's no ring, there's no referee. They're only used to fighting each other. They're only used to the rules of engagement that they have trained under and live by. And let me tell you something. Once Jackie realizes that she has that second saber and it's working, it's in because for me, I'm like, dog, he dog walked all of them, like punished all of them together. And she's a Padawan and she's like holding her own against him.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. But when you think about it, it's like in that moment, she's not fighting the way they taught her to fight. She's fighting with her emotions the way he fights. And I'm like, oh, perfect. That's what it should be. You know what I'm saying? Because the rest of them, all those who shall remain nameless.
They won't be back in the next episode.
Sam, what's the best part of the fight?
He was killing everybody. I don't know. Like it was so unexpected, dog. Like he bodied both of them during the fight. When she brought out the two dual blades, that excites me. I didn't see her going there. I thought she was at first, but then she went there and then she started holding her own for a second. But I'm sorry.
She put a little Ahsoka in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the two,
when the way he flipped it around and hit it with those 3 taps, wop, wop, wop with the lightsaber.
With the sneaky kunai.
Yeah. It's like, I yelled out loud. I was like, oh, that was like, everybody's dying here. What is happening?
Me too.
Like, okay. But yeah, he got my man, though. I was happy.
Frosty, what's your favorite part of this fight?
I actually have 2.
Okay.
There is the headbutt of the lightsaber. Absolutely incredible. Not a style you see, obviously, ever. So many people thought that this was like they made this up for this show. Twitter the last 2 weeks has been like nasty with like the hate. But like it's a legitimate like ore. So the fact that they brought cortosis into live action makes me so happy. And then
I know that a lot of people, I got asked like, how is he blocking like lightsabers and why is their lightsaber shorting out? So I grabbed the clip from this shot.
I loved all that.
From a few years ago, right? Where Vader is fighting and she's like, this is a cortosis blade. Your lightsaber will now be useless for the next few minutes. More than enough time to kill you. So like, it is a true ore that comes from the lore from like the 70s.
Yeah, it's been around.
Yeah. And so it's like, all right, that's what his helmet is made of.
Yep.
That's what his man braces are made of, his gauntlets.
He was bringing them things and turning them off left and right.
It's the first helmet I will own, but I pre-ordered that thing as soon as it went live. Yeah. But my second favorite one was Jackie's like twirl, where she's like swinging but like spinning. Oh, so good and so clean. Like, Jackie baby.
I want you to know when maybe a Sith Lord runs you through and then Force pulls your homie into you to run you back in, I'm
That's
sold.
The Sith kebab.
I'm exactly. I'm sold. Like just again, this is like we need some cannon fodder so we can really give these ridiculous arms some work to do.
He did the work.
Let me tell you. Well, listen, we're gonna talk about how ridiculous it might feel about how oblivious Jedi are to Force users outside of themselves, because it just feels kind of dumb. The Force is plot armor. It like in the worst way, the Force itself is plot armor. It just like it works the way it needs to work for whatever the plot is doing more often than not. But as this show has done for the first 4 episodes, this episode is no different in that every time they answer questions, they leave more questions, like a true mystery should. So the majority of this episode is fighting and people dying. It just that is what this is. And this show, I feel like, needed that. Like it needed like a shot of adrenaline to like.
We got it.
100%. Like
we got a full CCs or whatever it is of adrenaline shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight to the heart.
Yeah.
He's so much more powerful than they are.
Yep.
It seems by leaps and bounds too. That's ridiculous.
The light side holds people back. The Jedi way holds people back.
I mean, I would agree. And I think that there's a good reason for it. But it's, again, like when they talk to him and it's like, what do you want? What are you doing? He's like, I want to wield my power without rules, basically. You know what I mean? Like I
want
have this power and I want to use it uncapped. Like I don't want anybody telling
follow
me
your rules. Like,
well, I don't want to follow any rules. Is what,
yes,
to me is, you know what I mean? Although there are obviously rules, right? So it's like, but most importantly, it was, I want a pupil. I want an acolyte. So is this the creation of that rule? Because it's not, right? Like that rule was put in place because the Jedi didn't defeat the Sith. The Sith defeated the Sith. Just infighting and so forth is the way the history works. And so that's why the rule of 2 was put in place. 1 to wield power and 1 to covet that power. There always has to be another one wanting to covet that power, because if you covet that power, then you have to be in a position to take it from the person who has it. Like so there's always this chain. And so I think the big question is this the person at the top? Is this actually the master? Because dog, listen, if Slim is not the master, they're in trouble. Like they're
1,000%.
They're in the most trouble. Here's what I think I really like. We never really get to see Sith be undauntingly devious. For real. Like when you watch it in the prequel trilogy, sure, like Palpatine is devious, but it's like it's politics. Like it's not, it's, I don't know. Like, yes, I want the power, but it's like I want the political power. And there's something that's less appealing.
That's not the entire thing behind Palpatine. So yeah, obviously getting to that top Supreme Chancellor, like he's ruling over it. But he's the whole goal, like that's the ultimate goal, is to wipe out the Jedi so that he can use the dark side and that power at will with nothing to hold him back. It's just about power.
It is, but I guess what I'm saying is that it's strained by like the politics that have to be involved instead of it feeling like no, this is just a power, like that message of like it's about power doesn't even feel like that's really what you're getting until much later in that story, because in the prequel trilogy there's so much wrapped up in like who's the chancellor of this and the Senate and the, you know what I mean, and it doesn't feel like it's about fighting, and that's obviously where we get. But at this point in time,
Slim seems like it's carnage for the sake of carnage, pretty much. Like I can do what I want, I'm gonna do what I want, and none of y'all can stop me. You're not gonna stop me.
To an extent. I mean, again, this is still someone who is afraid. Like, obviously, there is an ability to be overpowered. Because if you're not afraid, like this is a person who's like, why are you hiding your face? Because I don't want people to know. Like, if people find out who I am and what I can do, they'll come for my power. They'll try to stop me. So like, he's not. And again, fear is part of wielding the dark side. So like, he is afraid of being caught. So therefore, must slaughter everyone who sees my face.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's so like there's a give and a take with that. This is not a person who, he seems like he's fearless, and he is fearless in the face of like these eight. He don't want the Jedi Council looking for, you know what I'm saying, looking for him. That would not be good. So, but I'm still not convinced that Slim is at the top of the food chain.
There's so much question behind this. There are possibilities as to who might actually be the master. And I'm super excited to hear if that gets resolved. I mean, it sounds like this season will come to a close, like a definitive close, but there are plans for additional seasons. So I wonder if like we'll get that definitive close with this. Like, yes, there's a master, so you'll get that answer, but will they explore it any further in this season?
I mean, I think the question of then who this show is about really is what starts to wield its head, because look, if this is a show about some version of a Sith rise to power, right? Which clearly, like, they don't rise to power because we already know, you know what I mean? But again, we're 100 years before the prequel trilogies, right? So, but this is the kind of thing that to me obviously gets like wiped under the table. Like, people aren't going to know that he exists because
they're gonna keep it secret.
Well, I mean, if they don't, it would destroy the canon, because A.K.A. Mundi is there and is also the person who's sitting on the High Council who tells them like, oh, the Sith have been gone for a millennium. So like, if he knows about this, then that can't be right. You know what I'm saying? But like, maybe even if this was just kind of some small uprising and they thought, well, there's just this one, or there's this two, or there's this one who tried to get a second and we quashed it. And so maybe he would be able to say they've been gone for a millennium without it really being that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's the case.
I know I was happy I was right when he got his mask put off and they had the like camera so you couldn't see his face. I was like, come on, bro, put your hand up. I know it's you. I know it's you, dog. Come on.
Who else can it be?
Nailed it.
So I want to.
So obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to take a moment to say how disappointed I am in that. I don't like it at all. I did like it just.
Oh, Dip? Y'all didn't watch The Good Place, did you?
No, I've only seen the first season of it.
Jason, he plays Jason, and like one of his like lines is like, "Oh, Dip." Like,
I don't.
Oh, shit, that is him.
Yeah,
I just realized that was him. The whole time, like he looks familiar, but I can't think of when.
But I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
I've only seen the first season. So, okay.
But you know that, yeah, you've seen him. Yeah. So he's Jason Mendoza, Jaguars ultimate fan.
Okay.
I can't not be upset that it was that telegraphed.
That was that easy.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of obvious, that very like, because it just makes me feel like everybody's dumb. You know what I mean? Like all the Jedi are dumb. Like May is dumb. Osha's dumb. Like you just been standing next to my man the whole time.
Yeah.
But that's not a good argument. People were standing next to Palpatine the whole time, and he was this.
I know.
No, Jedis are just dumb. It's just Jedis are dumb.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But there is a way to mask your power and like hide.
But also, it's still a good argument because them being next to Palpatine, they were dumb. Like that's also dumb.
No, I didn't realize that's what you meant. Like I thought you were talking about like people couldn't fit. Like if people weren't guessing Chimera,
like weren't
like yeah.
I mean,
not Jedi, other people.
Yeah, I mean, look again. I'd like to live within some of the benefit of the doubt, where it's like if you are not just Jedi, if you're anybody living in this time period, then as far as you know, nobody who can do any of these kinds of things does exist. Like they just, not that you're not. Here's the thing that's crazy to me about that. You're talking about the galaxy. Like y'all just planets to, like you just can't know
everything
that there's just nobody. You know what I mean? Who has, and you also know that like people are born because clearly like we reserve the right to train children, whatever.
That hubris.
Yeah. But again, just like I don't know if that's, again, I don't necessarily consider that hubris the way I consider it just in ignorance. Like you just don't know because you didn't.
But I'm saying like they have a rule where you're not allowed to train children. We have to. You don't get to.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to be able to control it.
But they also are supposed to have to get permission.
Yes.
According to themselves. As they said, with your permission, of course. Yeah, I mean, I told you, Sin, that those moth things were going to be an issue. That they were coming back. It was going to be like, lightsabers are going up, and that thing. It didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen.
Neither did I.
But
and in that second, I was a little heated. Like he better survive this. Y'all don't play with me. So he gets killed by some freaking giant bugs.
Out this way.
I was gonna be pissed off.
Here's the thing. I think it was a purposely done head fake to make it feel the way Darth Maul got killed. Like just like that's it. Like you just
like the whole rest of the episode. I was waiting. I was like, bruh, nah, he's not dying. That is not happening. I didn't see nobody. If I didn't see nobody, he ain't dead yet.
There was nobody from Maul, so like he wasn't dead. Like that's But everybody survives in Star Wars. That's just how that works.
Not in the High Republic.
I don't like. Yeah, apparently. Not. I mean, if you fall, like if you end up high and you fall, you survive. Like that's
unless
how that works. Apparently, correct. Well, I am pretty sure that that's the only actual bottomless pit in Star Wars is out of a window on like Coruscant.
Of course,
like, Coruscant, dog. There's nowhere to land. Like it just, I don't think Mace Windu died. I just think he.
I don't think he did either. Yeah.
I just think he
got out of it somehow. No body, no death. Yeah.
He just eventually got an old age falling or something, but like he didn't, you know. Boba Fett fell into a Sarlacc pit and survived that.
Yep.
They survived, but I mean, I also didn't really like the way he came back down from that. But like,
I didn't either. It looked too too wiry, like too much on wires. Yeah,
I wasn't happy with that. But nonetheless, I am not angry that Yor died. I am a little angry that Jackie died. Like, I'm not happy about that at all.
His savagery, though, was that its name?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Bison.
That's just us. Maybe he'll be back. We'll see. So now my question is, we pulled a body swap. Again, Jedi don't know their own people. What is the purpose of that? Why do you think is May running from, like, May doesn't know that he survived. Right. So I could see if she was attempting in some way to either, I'm going to kill Soul because he's the last one and that needs to happen. And then at least she'll feel like she completed it, even though prior to that, she's like, I don't even want to do this anymore. I don't have to.
Yeah.
Which I guess I feel like is also kind of important to discuss. Like, an episode ago, she's like, you know what? I'm out. Osha being alive does change everything. So I'm going to turn myself in. I'm ready to flip. Like, I'm good. Why do you think she seems to flip on that?
I see. This is one that's kind of got me stumped because, like, I mean, I get it because Osha still was planning to arrest her. Like, the plan was still to arrest her and everything. But she was kind of expecting that when she was telling Chimera that she was going to do that she was going to go to them and tell them everything.
So I think she thought when she realized that Osha was alive. So when she approaches Osha, I think in her head, it was, we're going back to the way it was before the Jedi showed up and brainwashed you. Like, we're like, hey,
yeah,
you're here, I'm here, we're good. We can go off and just go be us. We don't need them. I don't need him. We can go be us.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't go, I think the way May thought it was going to go in her head, I think that's when she decided, you know what? You just like you were when we was like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you remember being like, you always so goody. Like, you're such a, and here's the funny thing. Osha wasn't the goody. May was the goody.
Right. To the witches. Yeah.
Correct. Like, Osha was the one who was running away, leaving the coven, sneaking out, all of those things.
Yep.
May was the one who was in line, if you will, and was like, this is what I want. This is, as a matter of fact, all I've ever wanted. Like, and it's all I need. And I'm good with that. Like, we can just go, let's just go be witches, dog. Like, we don't have to do none of this.
Yeah.
And Osha was like, nah, Slim, I'm a mechanic. want to see the galaxy. Like, I don't know. Like, she just was like, nah. And I think that made May. I think that flipped the switch for her. I think that nothing that Chimera said to her as a master really had her convinced, other than the anger that she had towards the Jedi, but also feeling like, because at this point, clearly the Jedi in some manner have lied to Osha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also clearly, whomever May was with lied to her. Because neither one of them knew the other one was alive.
Yeah.
Which would have made me feel very differently if I was like, oh, nah, well, May knew. She just wants, revenge and wants her sister back or whatever. But when she realized her sister was alive, I think she maybe thought, well, shoot, this does change it. Because me and her could just we just go be sister. What do you think the purpose of her swapping places? Why did May swap places with Osha?
That's what I'm having like a hard time trying to figure out. Like, her on her own, she has to know she has no chance against like a bunch of Jedi, but maybe she's planning on completing the deal on the ship when it's just her and Sol. But like at that point, why not just surprise him right there and slaughter him? Like, I don't know what the purpose of her swapping is. Like, I'm so confused.
So I think what's going to end up happening is that Sol is going to confess to May what he does know, and that it's going to be different from what May thinks happened, and that might flip things in some manner for her. Because he has been promising, like, once we get you back, I'm going to
tell you everything.
I'm going to tell you everything. Like, we're going to have a discussion. I'll fill you in on everything. So, and even in the conversations that he's having with Chimera, like, Chimera also seems to know what happened and what's going on with Sol, which makes me think that Chimera was there when it happened.
I love the theory that they're brothers.
Who? Sol and
Chimera, because he's like, you don't recognize me, or like, because he says there's something familiar, but like in the sea of those witches, he's gonna feel that one person.
Maybe. I mean, so initially when that happened, it made me think, is he just toying with him like, you don't recognize me from the storefront the other day when I was like standing up in it? Like, that's kind of how that felt to me. Like, you don't know who I am, and like him being like, you seem familiar, but also again, here's where I'm at. So in the flashback episode, when May and Osha are being trained by Mother Anastasia, after she attacks them and tells them like, your enemies aren't gonna, wait to attack you, they hear like a noise, and she looks to Mother Coral, and she's like, kind of like, to go check it out, tells the girls, go to your room. She goes, and there's a shot of her going and looking over, like, I guess you would call it the reactor room or whatever, right? You see the big thing in the center, and there's like a lightning bolt or whatever coming from it, which I don't know if that means that machine was malfunctioning at that time, if that's how it always works, or if someone had done something to it to make it malfunction, which is what I'm thinking. And I'm under the impression that if the Jedi knew that they had twins and were training children, that there is someone else who also knew that was the case, and that they were also after them or looking for them. And then it just so happened that, as the circumstances are, it worked out, because like a couple of things happened. When Mother Anastasia controls Torben as a Padawan, right? And his eyes go completely black. Mother Coral always seems like the evil one, whatever, like the mean one. But it's Mother A.K.A. who does that and says, like, yo, if you want him back in his right mind, y'all might want to leave. But outside of that, she always seems calm, cool, and collected, right? When Osha has the like first vision of May as a little girl, and then they're like running through the
ice planet.
And then that turns into like them running in the trees or whatever. There's a point where like it's like they're in the room, and she turns and she looks at her, and her eyes do the same thing.
Yeah,
as if someone else was controlling her.
Yeah.
Also, in this episode, when Yord is talking to her about fighting him and like why he's overpowering them and so forth, he's like, he gets in your head, and it's like you can't get him out, which I'm positive is the same thing that happened to Kalnaka, because my man has been scribbling the witchcraft scrolls all over the inside of his life. So somebody got in his head and controlled him at some point, which means that the same kind of force power is at play in this to me if Chimera is able to wield that in some way, right? And does that mean that somebody was training him from the outside of it? Possibly. Does it mean that somebody else knows or knew how to do those same kinds of things, and that maybe somebody else took control of the Jedi, Torben or Kalnaka or whatever? Because Torben definitely ends up with his face scarred up.
Yeah.
And
I think we're still getting another flashback episode.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I was under the impression that the flashback would be from May's perspective.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case. I think the flashback is going to end up being from Soul's perspective. I think Soul's going to be telling what they saw, what they were doing. And I think
he got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, well, for sure. But I think that if I had to play it out, right? If I'm writing this script from this point forward, right? Someone else took control of Kalnaka and or Torben. They're fighting probably each other or something. The Jedi have only seen Mother A.K.A. or the witches do something like that. And they probably end up having to slaughter or kill the witches, thinking that's the only way to save them. So it feels like the wrong thing to do, but they feel like they have to do it because they can't. And it turns out that it wasn't them doing it. It was someone else who was there who had the same kind of abilities. And that person is who I think may be like Chimera's master. Maybe. That's how I'm packaging this.
Yeah. I still love the idea of Mother Coral being involved somehow. But there's a couple of other people who could absolutely be the ones pulling the strings.
I think Mother Coral would be right. Also feels too easy. I would rather it be Mother A.K.A. If somehow she survived it and is that upset and is just like, you know what? Okay. You know what I mean? Because again, their concern, their issue, really all of them are like, they're hunting us down. They're trying to take our children. They've been slaughtering us for however long. We had to come here. This was our last safe haven, or whatever. And also, you know what? In some manner, the idea that if it's Coral, I could see it making sense that she's in a place where she's like, this is all Osha's fault.
Right.
Which is how they both seem like they're both in the same place. What have you done? What have you done?
Yeah.
Would you be disappointed if Chimera has a master?
No.
Okay.
I've enjoyed so much about it, and finding out that he has a master would just be like, especially depending on who it is. If it's somebody who I want to see,
Let's
I'll
talk
be
about it. Stop being
ecstatic.
dancing about it.
Whether it's Plagueis or Tenebris, like it'd be
Mhm.
sweet to finally get Plagueis on screen.
I've been seeing people say that they think that Chimera is Plagueis.
That's not possible.
Is it not possible?
Plagueis is immune. His head is like really long, and
Do you think he ends up with an Acolyte by the end of the season?
I am
Yes.
hoping that May changes her. I hope May go, or not May, Osha. I hope she goes dark.
That's where I'm at.
And then what happens to May?
Maybe they kind of switch sides.
No,
Where
I
one-
think May dies.
I was
think
gonna
the
say I think May
only way Osha goes
dies.
dark is May has to die.
Yeah.
And I think he has to do it. Or he makes it so that she has to do it.
Yeah.
I'm good with either one of those. Either one of those I'm good with.
Because here's the thing. They made a real big deal, like a fake big deal, about her BTS tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
You okay, Sam?
Yeah.
You want me to show you? It's on her arm.
I know what you're talking about. The fact that that's pretty much that's a BTS tattoo.
It's straight up armor, though. It's upside down, but like that's what it is, bro. Like
they just copy somebody else's homework. That's it.
100%, dog.
Yeah.
They were like, you know what?
Let's just flip
He's
that.
Korean.
Done.
And that's popular. Why not?
If that's popular.
They made it like, again, they kind of made like he, what's that? And she goes off into this whole other explanation. He's like, nah, I meant that thing on your arm. I just had a night out with the crew. One of those nights. And then, of course, they made it purposeful that they showed that shot where you could clearly see her. So, without a shadow of a doubt, this is who it is. Because now it should be much more difficult to tell the two of them apart because we have a haircut. And so
I don't ever remember. I mean, I don't remember her hair being that long this entire time.
Oh, it was. Oh, it's definitely been longer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, her hair's been much longer the whole time.
Okay.
And
it's a very dramatic way to cut your hair.
Hey, bro, listen.
That's how Padawans get their braids cut off.
It is. She's no longer. She just mastered herself. I don't need y'all. I can do this if I want to. I will say this. That part is dramatic. The I'm replacing you thing feels very dramatic. Again, I'm not sure where it's supposed to be going. Like, I can't quite get into her head of what she's thinking. Especially since she left her alive.
Right.
But also maybe left her for dead because, like, I know she has to know she's alive, but she doesn't know that Chimera's alive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is kind of like, all right, so then what's the play? And Chimera, I'm almost positive, knew which one of them he had.
Oh, I'm positive he knew which one it was.
So let me ask you a question, Mari, because I know y'all have had a discussion about this episode.
Mm-hmm.
When Chimera finds Osha laying there in, I don't know, her pajamas, like, she didn't have on, it's like she didn't put her clothes on her and whatever. She just took off. But he lays, he has, I don't know, I guess he had that big bag, so maybe he just has a blanket, whatever. Maybe it was his clothes.
Wearing it. He was wearing it over the, he was covering his arms, that enemy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Where did he get? Anyway, so like to cover her, they played Kylo Ren's theme.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a knight of Ren?
There's a lot of speculation that he is the first Ren,
First, yeah.
or he's the inspiration for the first Ren.
Helmet, no, because the fact that his helmet is stitched together because he had to like make it, which I guess also listen. Let me do this again. I'm aware. I understand that cortosis can block and short out a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unaware of its ability to block Professor X's ability to see in your mind,
Like
like
Magneto's helmet.
Magneto's helmet.
Yeah.
That's definitely a new thing for me.
I don't know a ton about it.
He definitely said,
Yeah.
take off the, he was like, and let you in my mind. And I was like, Magneto? Like, I don't, that messes with me a little bit. And here's part of why, because he was doing so well at fooling them with no helmet on, no nothing. Although he did, when they found him in the shop, the first thing he did was like, don't do the Jedi mind thing on me.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like he was like, don't use your Jedi mind thing or whatever it is you guys do. Don't do that to me. So like maybe he was just like, yo, if they get in my head, I'm caught. You know what I mean? Like maybe he was just like, this is why I was like, even though I'm not like, these episodes have mostly been like, I don't want to say low scores, but they haven't been like high. They've been like 7.5, give or take for me. Mm-hmm. I kept saying like, but they're that low with the possibility of like, because I feel like they have the possibility of like getting better as later episodes come out, because they'll make other things that happen make more sense, right? And so like when I think back and I'm like, all right, what was that little distraction that Mother Coral had to go see? Why did May's eyes turn black like that? Was there someone else that also maybe was in the two of their head? Like,
right. Collectively, like messing with them.
Yeah, it wasn't like in the sequel trilogy, the two of them were able to, like, the dyad between
Snoke was able to manipulate it.
Snoke was able to manipulate it. So to me, that means somebody else could have also been manipulating that between the two of them. It also means that person would have known both of them were alive. Because it also is a little weird to me that Chimera just seems to be so much more knowledgeable about what actually happened that night.
Yeah. I think there's multiple levels to it. There are a couple images circulating around of a hooded figure in some of the witch scenes, like completely obscured. And so you kind of like wonder, like, could that be him? So I'm fine with that theory as well, that he was there, maybe not necessarily as part of the coven, but still was familiar with it.
It felt to me like where they were living, it was only them. There were only women.
No, there were merchants and stuff. It was like a little hidden civilization.
Were there men? There were
no
children. Right? No, like children. There's no children in the entire town.
Didn't maybe I think I'm thinking of a different scene. Never mind. Sorry. In my head, I'm thinking of when May goes into the Jedi Temple town and the guy sitting at the entrance. That's my bad.
Yeah, I don't think there's
the only woman.
I think the coven is all witches, no warlocks, no males. I don't remember seeing any males. And where is their father? There is no father, obviously. We still haven't gotten to the, if they find out how you created them, you're going to be in trouble thing. We still haven't gotten to that. Maybe we won't. I'll be upset, but maybe we won't. Yeah, so Like I think this show needed a good shot in the arm of like, all right, let's see what we can really do. Let's find out why this is really a threat. Let's figure this out. Let's, figure some, and I think we're gonna get more of that. I think there's gonna be more action coming.
Absolutely.
Over the next few episodes. I imagine this is probably the pinnacle of it, but I do think that we're going to see more action going forward. What do you want to see happen over the next 3 episodes?
I want to see the Sith win. I want to see him slaughter anyone who saw him and has any idea that he exists and then goes into hiding. I want him to continue.
Does Soul survive the show?
He can't. He knows, and he would absolutely go to the Jedi unless he decides that he messed up so bad that he goes into hiding and maybe does the vow or whatever.
All right. Do you think May and Osha survive?
No, I think one of them is outie.
Yeah.
At least.
At least one of them has to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your score for this episode? I don't know why I asked you that.
I don't know why anyone asks me. It was the same thing on the Black Squadron. Yeah, like 20 out of 10. This one was incredible.
Yeah, I think I'm at like a 9 for this episode. I'm very picky about my fight scenes. I'm very picky about. There are definitely like I still have like suspension of disbelief issues with Star Wars as a whole and Force stuff as a whole or whatever. But you know what? It was a good time. It was a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I just sometimes you just gotta let it go. And so this one where like there was enough that did happen that was like you could let it go. I think they answered not enough. Like I still don't really like. I don't know what happened to Cal Naka, and I want to know what happened to Cal Naka.
Yeah,
like, I want to know if he was just like, "You got me, dog. It's cool." You know what I mean? Right. Or like, as sneaky and clearly as Chimere is, did he just sneak in there and just happen? Because again, there's no signs of a struggle. There's no.
Right. Yeah.
He just sitting in a chair with his chest blown out.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder. I want to know.
Yeah.
What happened with that? But I don't think we're gonna get that. I think it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But I do think we're gonna get an explanation of why, if he did give up or was willing to let it be, that he just did. He just let it.
Yeah.
Let it be. So yeah, I'm at like a strong 9 for this episode. I think there's a possibility they're gonna have a hard time topping this episode.
I agree. I think it's gonna be tough coming down from this one, where we all have so much love for this fight and the story that it brought us in the arms and
in the arms. Yeah.
That it's gonna be hard to like go the next week and then there's like no action. Like if there's a non-action episode next week, it's gonna be like, dang it.
Yeah.
Y'all ruined my high.
I really feel like a letdown. I do think they have their work cut out for them following that. But good episode. I'm excited for the next episode, which has been a consistent thing for me with this show. Like, all right, let's go. What are we doing next? Give me some answers. And again, I don't really like cliffhangers, but like, all right, let's go. Let's get the next one.
Yeah.
I would love to just be able to binge this. You know what I mean?
I know. I can't wait to just blow through all of them.
So I binged it last night. Like I went back and just watched before I watched episode 5, I like watched all 4 of them into this one so that I could kind of, all right, let me go back and kind of revisit some things. And again, I saw that I was like, I don't know about that. Oh, wait a minute, eyes turn black just like his did. Oh, you know what else I saw? So again, you know how Torben's face is like, he has that scar on his face.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the flashback episode, when Osha wakes up and Torben and Indara are like in the back, it's blurry. His face is clearly bloody. Like he clearly has like a scar, like a fresh scar. I say clearly, even though I said blurry. It's like you can see in the background as he's standing. If you're looking at the screen, he's on the right side of the screen, and Dara's to the left, and Soul is towards the front talking to Osha. And so, like, over Soul's shoulder, you see the two of them standing back there. Kalnaka's nowhere to be found. Like, he's not there at all. You don't see him.
I'm trying to remember the scene, and I'm not.
Just go back to the very end of that episode, and you'll see it. And it's like you can see that he has like something happened to his face, and it happened like that night. Like it happened in that moment. And so I was like, oh, we had a fight. And they're not telling us some things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, listen, we're going to wrap this up. I'm excited to talk about next week when next week happens.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank everybody for hanging out, tuning in. This has been your Spoiler Boys for Star Wars The Acolyte, Episode 5, titled Night. What do you think the next episode is going to be titled? This one was easy. It was day and then night.
Right, yeah.
What was the flashback episode called?
That's what I was trying to remember. I'm like, are they gonna give us the next flashback episode, and it's going to be the partner to that one?
I think that's what it's going to be, even though we can't come up with the name right now.
Right, yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all. With that, we are out. Toodles and loos.
Loading snacks.